Evil people do evil things.
Breaking right now at 6. 9 months after the deadly Palisades fire devastated our community, a man is now under arrest.
It's a lot to process, to be honest, that one person would be evil enough to do this.
NBC4 Investigates was the first to tell you about an arrest this morning.
He was the only person in this location at the time this fire ignited.
People who live there are finally getting some answers about what officials say happened.
This person sat there thinking about what it would be like to burn our city.
The worst natural disaster in our history took place because of the act of an individual.
Tonight, NBC4 with an in-depth look at the charges the suspect is now facing and how investigators tracked him down.
NBC4 News at 6 starts with breaking news.
And we begin at 6 tonight with 2 breaking news updates on the Palisades fire. NBC4 Investigates was the first to tell you about the arrest this morning. And then, just a few hours ago, the LA Fire Department released its after-action report on the fire. Good evening once again, everyone. I'm Colleen Williams.
And I'm Michael Brownlee. That report released here today focuses on the fire department's response in the first 36 hours of that wildfire.
NBC4's Robert Kovacic spoke exclusively with the LAFD's acting chief. He's been digging through that report for the past couple of hours. Joins us live with more on the comments from Ronnie Villanueva. Robert.
Colleen and Michael, and Interim Chief Villanueva was candid and honest with NBC4, and he smoking gun here, you're not going to find it. Explaining, given the unprecedented conditions, hurricane-like conditions on January 7th, he said no matter what changes they possibly could have made, it would not have spared lives lost. It would not have saved homes that were lost. But there were definitely mistakes. There were definitely things the LAFD wants to improve on, and there are definitely highlights that the LAFD says things that day did go right. Let's start there.
The hits is that our firefighters were courageous and did a phenomenal job. Everyone that was involved, law enforcement, the fire service, our neighboring departments that surround us, everyone that came to our aid was a success. The firefighters saved 1 out of every 2 homes. What people don't talk about either is that there was 33,000 people that were evacuated. Those are the home runs, the saving of the lives. Yes, there's some challenges that were in there, things that we need to address, things that we're doing better. One is collaborating more with our fellow or our regional partners, or partners that surround the city, is one. The other is our notifications of how we get the notifications out to the public, and our recall policy. That is something that we now have updated to where if we have something that's this significant, no one's going home. They're going to stay here until we have all of our resources filled.
So among the challenges and among the changes that the LAFD does want to focus on in this report, they say that there was a delay in communicating evacuation orders and warnings and shelter-in-place notifications to the public. And as a result, what you're looking at right there, spontaneous evacuations occurred without structured traffic control, causing citizens to block strategic routes to the fire. The other big change that Chief Villanueva said, if he was on call that day, remember, they pushed him out of retirement after Chief Crowley was fired just after the January 7th fires. Chief Villanueva was not in place that day, but said if he was chief, they would not have let any firefighters go home after their 8 a.m. shift. They would have been in place, and that is what this report states, that the initial response dispatched to the Palisades incident lacked the appropriate resources, therefore staffing for the weather conditions typically associated with red flag conditions. And given all of that, Colleen and Michael, the firefighters that were called, that were in place, worked upward to 48 hours straight. And they say that combination of fatigue and exhaustion and sleep deprivation severely hindered their ability to make decisions. Making decisions in a fire that was unprecedented, he says, for the city of Los Angeles, that they were facing these conditions. He called it a monster of a fire, and the LAFD did everything they could. There are concerns with Palisades residents about hydrants not working, and he said that there was access to some hydrants that weren't working and that there was an inability to access fire hydrants. As far as the reservoir is concerned, that will be something that the LADWP will have to handle, and whether there were sufficient resources inside of the reservoir. But he said, keep in mind that this was a fire that they didn't have their best asset, their aerial assault, to be able to fight it because they were grounded due to the conditions. And when it comes to the start of the Palisades fire, remember, didn't start on the 7th. We now know from this morning's news conference with the FBI and with the federal government and with other agencies that this was a fire that they now confirm started on January 1st, the Lockman incident. But he said as far as the LAFD is concerned, they had that fire, quote, completely suppressed, and it was smoldering in the root system, only able to take off when those winds picked up the morning of January 7th. We're live here outside of City Hall East, where the LAFD fire chief is located. I'm Robert Kovacic. Let's go back to you.
And Robert, we have more on that right now. We continue our breaking news coverage with a step towards justice today for thousands of families in Pacific Palisades.
That's right. Federal investigators announcing the arrest of 29-year-old Jonathan Rinderneck. He was arrested in Central Florida yesterday, made his first court appearance in Orlando this afternoon.
Investigators say he started the Lockman fire on New Year's Day while he was working as an Uber driver in the area. That fire would later erupt into the deadly Palisades fire 6 days later. On January 7th, Rinderneck the fire started on January 7th. Rinderneck, as we've heard, used to live in the Palisades.
Well, tonight and all new at 6, we're hearing exclusively from businessman Rick Caruso, a leading critic, as you know, of Mayor Karen Bass over the fire.
NBC4's Conan Nolan joins us now in studio with that part of our coverage. Conan.
Yeah, well, so it is clear the fire that consumed the Palisades actually started days earlier as a brush fire that fire crews had extinguished. But while the flame on the surface was no longer apparent, there was still combustion taking place below the surface. The Palisades, it appears, was consumed by a so-called zombie fire.
In 2020, what was called the complex fire along the Northern California coast. 86,000 acres, 1,500 buildings destroyed. It took weeks to extinguish. But then well into the next year, in the burn scar, the fire reemerged in a redwood grove, apparently similar to the one that started on New Year's Day in the Santa Monica Mountains. And then, according to officials, after fire crews put out the flames, reignited days later, resulting in the most devastating natural disaster in the history of Los Angeles. Governor Gavin Newsom.
What could be done as it relates to any lessons learned in that respect? We saw similar things. We've seen a lot of fire starts over the years. Oakland Hills, there were some similar versions of this.
Zombie fires take place when the flames are extinguished, but the original fire has spread underground. A slow burn continues below the surface in a low oxygen environment, but amidst the presence of combustible material. It can even snow, and the subsurface smoldering continues, only to reignite in dry months when high winds and oxygen bring the fire back to life. Mayor Karen Bass earlier today.
Should this have been a place where crews were pre-positioned, knowing that this fire started just a week before?
Well, I think that that's something that has to be looked at, and where were the crews? We want to make sure that we are able to prevent anything like this from happening again.
The mayor's critic and opponent from the last election, businessman Rick Caruso, in an interview with NBC4, says what has been proven is that the Palisades fire was avoidable.
We had a fire, the week ahead of time. And then the wind warnings came out that everybody saw. And so the easy thing, the reasonable thing, the smart thing to do is you would pre-deploy a fire truck to that area, knowing that there could be a potential that it could reignite. And if a fire truck had been stationed there when the wind started, it would have been easily put out.
Not sure if it's that easy. Hindsight is 20/20 vision. And in some zombie fires, the next fire that props up as a result of the wind gusts and the return of oxygen sometimes is far away from where the original burn scar was. They're that insidious, and we've known about them for some time. They're part of fire behavior, but that is a question. If you know this is a possibility and you know you're going to have record-breaking wind gusts, maybe that's a place you put a rig. Just saying.
All right. Appreciate it. Eric Leonard, NBC4 Investigates, joins us now. Eric, let's talk about the announcement here this morning and the arrest of this 29-year-old.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that somebody was the subject of an arson investigation was known to us in the newsroom for months. We have been told and begged not to share any of this publicly because the case hadn't developed yet. And we hear some things like this from law enforcement regularly. So we knew that there was someone that was the focus of the case, but it wasn't until today that a face and a name and the circumstances were all added together. You're looking at this guy. He used to live out in the Pacific Palisades. In fact, he lived very, very close to the exact spot where these two fires started, which at this point we're told is a complete coincidence, but we're still asking questions about that because that seems to be an extraordinary convergence of events.
We understand when he lived in the Palisades, he lived in a home of means. Do we know where that money came from?
We don't. At least nothing's been confirmed yet. He has family members who've both lived in the United States and overseas. He lived in a home that would be described as a pretty spectacular one. This street in the Palisades closest to where the fire started has these unbelievable ocean views. There's some professional athlete that lives or owns a home on the street. It's not the place that you would expect someone who was driving for a rideshare company or DoorDash to live. Those two things don't quite add up just yet, but we're still trying to sort that out as well.
All right, Eric, Conan, thank you. We will continue our coverage of the Palisades fire, the arrest, the investigation here on air and online. It's 6:12. Let's take a look at some of the other top stories here in Southern California.
A day at Disneyland turns tragic for a woman visiting the park.
I'm Amber Frias in Anaheim. A fun day at Disneyland turned tragic this week after a woman in her 60s died after riding the Haunted Mansion. Anaheim Fire and Rescue say the woman was found unresponsive at the end of the ride. They say the woman was then rushed to a local hospital where she was pronounced dead. Her cause of death has not been released, but Anaheim Fire and Rescue say they don't believe it stemmed from an issue with the ride itself. We reached out to Disney to ask them about the incident, but they were only able to confirm that they had a guest on Monday that required medical assistance and that she was then taken to the hospital.
I'm Christian Cáceres in San Bernardino, where a new tool launched today to help students pay for higher education. It's called Cash for College, a $4 billion investment, according to the California Student Aid Commission, geared to help students wanting to attend community college or a university in the state. Now, this is free money for those who qualify that you can use for tuition, housing, gas, textbooks, and even childcare, and you don't have to pay it back. Each case is different, but the deadline to apply is March 2nd. Visit NBCLosAngeles.com for that link to get started.
What an atmosphere here at Dodger Stadium. Tonight could be the night the Dodgers are looking to sweep the Phillies and advance to the NLCS for the second straight year. Game 3 just got underway with ace Yoshi Yamamoto on the hill for the Blue. The Phils countering with Aaron Nola, who comes in with an atrocious ERA. This place is rocking. Will they be popping champagne after the game? If they do, we're going to show it to you, plus complete highlights tonight at 11.
Back to our big breaking news today. A Florida man now under arrest in connection with the Palisades fire. NBC4 Investigates was the first to break this story this morning.
The news is perhaps hitting the hardest for people who live in the Palisades who lost everything. NBC4's Camila Rambaldi was at Marquez Elementary School, which welcomed students back last week.
We are just about a block away from Marquez Elementary School here in one of the neighborhoods where homes were leveled. You can see some of the construction that has started. We spoke with some parents today still processing today's news of an arrest. I also spoke with other community members who shared mixed reactions. Here is more of what people had to say.
I'm happy that justice is being served. It's devastating. Obviously, the destruction here is unimaginable, and we're all just looking for some closure.
I commend law enforcement for doing this incredible work.
What does today mean for the community here?
Well, this day means that we can finally put to rest why this happened. Sure, there were huge winds, And the elements were ripe for a devastating fire, similar to what we had in 1961 back in the day. And but at least now we know that it was a man-initiated event. We just can't reconcile with why somebody would do such a thing to so many families and children who lost their homes. I have many students who lost their homes in Malibu all through high school.
The reaction's mixed. The main point of it, though, is that it doesn't resolve what happened. We're still in the same place as we were before this news. This news does not move the needle. But for us, we still need answers, and we also need, the main thing is we need solutions moving forward.
In the Pacific Palisades, Camilla Rambaldi, NBC 4 News.
All right, looking live from our camera, our Battleship Iowa camera. This is in San Pedro, and it looks like sun is about to set out there.
Certainly is. Meteorologist Melissa McGee, she's back with another look at your first alert forecast.
Sunsets at 6:29.
That's too early for me.
Oh, we're ever so close.
I know, we're getting closer and closer, but it was a beautiful day today. Tracking some showers tomorrow, so we'll get into the details. Colleen and Michael show you the picture outside as we're looking live at downtown this evening. We had beautiful conditions earlier today. Pretty cloudy across most locations this morning. Clouds breaking out to some sun. Currently for the basin, cooling down to 66 degrees at this hour. The high earlier today in the upper 70s. At 79 San Bernardino, same thing in Victorville. 63 in Big Bear, 66 Thousand Oaks and Santa Clarita coming in at 74 degrees. So what we're tracking tomorrow is all because of Priscilla. This was a hurricane. Now it's weakening as we continue to go through the night. It is a tropical storm. Once it reaches our latitude here in Southern California, this is just going to be an area of low pressure. But you can already see some of those outer rain bands impacting Mexico, the Four Corners, as well as Arizona. As we get into Thursday into Friday, this moves back to the west from time to time, allowing for a shower or an isolated thunder to squeak on through. So we'll talk about the weather headlines and what we can expect Thursday and Friday. For LA County, a stray and spotty shower from time to time, Thursday and Friday. But I think a lot of the moisture is going to be pressing off to the east of LA County, for Orange County, really the Inland Empire, the mountains and the deserts. And for those locations, as we go throughout the day tomorrow afternoon and into our Friday, light to moderate rain is possible and an isolated thunderstorm moving through as well. I want to show you what Futurecast looks like here as we look at the fast forward motion. 10 o'clock in the morning, most of those showers across eastern LA County, pressing in across Orange County, San Bernardino and Riverside counties. By the afternoon, still have a lot of that activity confined to the east. I don't think you see a whole lot west of LA County as we get into tomorrow morning, even into tomorrow night. Showers and even a possible rumble of thunder, mainly across areas to the east of Los Angeles, right through the evening hours. We've got one more sweep of moisture as we get into our Friday morning. But you look at the color of the green here, very light. So just some spotty activity moving in from time to time. And then once this pulls away, we've got conditions that do improve as we head into our weekend. So your forecast for the basin, 78, 73 for the coast. On Friday, that moisture is well to the east of the basin and coast. So we're calling for clear conditions and temperatures back up into the 80s for the basin. We cool off over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, temperatures in the 70s. Next Tuesday, the potential of another storm moving on through. So right now we're calling for a mostly cloudy sky, temperatures only in the 60s and the threat of some rain. So we'll keep you posted. Valleys on your Thursday, 83, the Inland Empire in at 85. We'll keep that thunderstorm threat around on Friday for the IE, but we'll clear out just in time for the weekend. Temperatures in the 80s, 60s and 70s on the way. Watching Tuesday very closely, mostly cloudy sky for now, a chance of some showers, otherwise temperatures in the 60s. 80s on the way for the high desert. We've got 90s tomorrow, unsettled Thursday and Friday, on and off with this activity. The moisture pulls out. We've got a lot of sunshine on the way this upcoming weekend, and the mountains 64 on your Thursday and 64 for you on your Friday. That is your forecast. Michael, back over to you.
I'll take the sunshine, Melissa. Thank you. New at 6, keeping California's street vendors safe. Governor Newsom signed a bill into law barring federal agencies from accessing information about vendors. Now, street vendors are required to enter their personal information while applying for local permits. So this law prevents that information from being turned over to the feds. The law goes into effect January 1st.
We have an update right now, that huge sinkhole in Venice that we first told you about yesterday. News Chopper 4 was over North Venice Boulevard just a few hours ago. This is near the canals. As you can see, looks like the pipe has been fixed. Workers have started filling in the hole We're told the road is expected to reopen perhaps as early as tomorrow afternoon.
California. Rock and Roll Hall of Famer Gene Simmons is recovering after a scare on PCH. The Kiss bassist and co-lead singer crashed his SUV into a parked car yesterday. Now, this is Gene during a guest appearance on the NBC4 News back in July. Simmons told sheriff's deputies that he passed out before the crash. His wife says doctors recently changed his medication and that he was dehydrated. And a voicemail message to NBC4 investigates. Simmons says he's doing fine.
New at 6, a healthy change for school lunches. Governor Newsom signed a law today making California the first state to phase out so-called ultra-processed foods in public school meals. It comes after the governor's executive order in January calling on state agencies to crack down on those foods and artificial dyes. The governor joined the LAUSD superintendent to announce the new law.
It is, I think, a very positive development in this country to see more progress in this space, broader understanding, deeper recognition of how much harm we've done, how much damage we've done to ourselves and our bodies, and the challenges we continue to face in chronic disease, how we can mitigate and prevent it, and how this is part of our health care.
Those changes will roll out in schools over the next 10 years. All right, 1953 was a while ago, but for a group of graduates from Venice High School, it really does feel like it was only yesterday.
NBC4's Gordon Tagamatsu made the trip to Huntington Beach for this very special reunion.
Even at age 18, future mechanical engineer Don Gibas was organized and disciplined.
Priority one was I wanted to have a good job. I learned a little bit early in life that that's what I had to do. That was my goal. The prizes that we have.
In fact, at 90, he's still the logistics guy at these gatherings. Think about that task, bringing all these 90-year-olds to the Huntington Beach Denny's on a Wednesday afternoon, and other grads joining in via the internet.
In here in the room, we got 17.
That's remarkable.
Yes, it is.
At age 18, Jenny Mata was the all-around student. In the Gondolier yearbook from that year, her photo lists Letter Girl, ASB Secretary of Finance, and prom committee, among other pursuits. She tells us she was a huge Frank Sinatra fan and at one point headed off to journalism school to become a sports writer.
It didn't quite work out because I met my husband. You know, we had 6 children.
That year, 1953, Elizabeth was crowned Queen of England. The Korean War had ended, and the first issue of Playboy hit the newsstands. So much has changed since then, including longevity. Medical advancement has made reunions like this one not only possible 72 years after graduation, but more probable as life expectancy grows. We asked Don and Jenny what their secret to long life is and got similar but different answers. Jenny keeps trying new things.
Oh, shooting pool.
When did you take that up?
A couple months ago. I make gift baskets too. I've done 1,700 gift baskets.
Don is still a businessman and inventor who believes in holistic medicine as opposed to traditional. And although his wife was sitting 5 feet from us, he loves remembering those youthful days he left behind. Were you a ladies' man?
Kinda.
Are you still a ladies' man?
Yes.
Both agree that gatherings like this help immensely. Not everyone from Venice High School's class of '53 can attend reunions like this anymore, but the ones that do enjoy every single moment. And yes, at Denny's, everyone in this room qualified for the senior discount. In Huntington Beach, Gordon Tokumatsu, NBC4 News.
Next on the NBC Nightly News with Tom Llamas, the doctor who encouraged women to donate their eggs, then allegedly didn't pay them.